Hello, this is cjhoyle. Today is Thursday, September the 2nd, 2021, and welcome to day 6 of my solo canoeing adventure on the Rideau Canal. The time is currently about 7 a.m., and I spent a nice, quiet, peaceful evening camped here at lock number 24, Kilmarnock. So it was a relatively cold evening last night, and I actually slept for the first time on this trip with my sleeping bag fully zipped up, which is quite a contrast from the first evening of this trip when I slept with it fully unzipped, and I actually slept on top of the sleeping bag. But I was definitely warm enough, and I had a comfortable night here last night. So as I mentioned, the time is about 7 a.m. And usually at 7 a.m. I'm already in the water and I have, everything all packed up and I'm ready to go. But as you can see today, I've still got my tent set up. I haven't actually gotten started yet. And that's because I decided to stay in my tent for an extra hour or so. Because, well, basically I'll only be going through one community today, and it's Merrickville. And it's only about 12 or 13 kilometers downriver from here. So if I left at 7 a.m. as I often do, I would have arrived there at 10, and that's kind of too early. So I kind of want to leave a little bit later so I can arrive there a little more around lunchtime, so I can stop and have my lunch when I arrive there. So I was just meeting my neighbors who are camping over there on the other side of the canal, and they're currently in the process of doing the same journey as me, but they're doing it on the Rideau Trail. So they're walking it as opposed to any type of watercraft. And off they go. So the time is now 5 minutes to 8 o'clock, and I've got the canoe fully loaded here. But before I head off paddling in that direction, I'm just going to fuel up with a delicious serving of my usual campsite overnight oats and some orange juice to drink. And we're off. And it looks like the wind is going to be in my favor here for the first little bit. So this land, which is over here on my right, is still part of Kilmarnock Island, which is where I was camping last night. But at some point up ahead, a branch of the river will rejoin, which will mean that Kilmarnock Island will end and we'll be seeing mainland over on the right. So the wind is definitely helping me right now, and it seems pretty strong from the north, which, although it's helpful at the moment, it probably won't be helpful later in the day because the river kind of twists and turns a little bit, and while I'm going south right now, I'm not going to be going south for most of the day. Most of the day I'll be going east, so it'll probably be kind of to my side, and maybe even a little bit ahead of me because I'll also be sort of heading a little bit north too. But I might as well enjoy it while I can. It's yet another beautiful morning to be alive and on vacation. Looks like I'm just paddling past a trailer park here. So I've still got this whole place to myself this morning, which is really nice. Even though I said yesterday I won't have any more lakes to paddle through, there are portions of the river like this, which are actually still quite wide. On the other hand though, they're also quite shallow, as you can see the bottom there pretty easily. The time is now 9 a.m. and I paddled about 4.5 kilometers so far. So the wind switched from being behind me to being beside me, and now it's ahead of me. So I've got my work cut out for myself to paddle up this arm of the river here. Lots of little homes built along the river here, but with all these weeds and the water here, you don't see any swim docks. So I've paddled 6 kilometers so far, and it looks like things will narrow down up ahead, so hopefully it'll be a bit more sheltered. Never mind, not that much narrower and still quite windy. That's okay though, getting my workout this morning. So the time is now 10 a.m. and I paddled 8.7 kilometers. So I should have another 3 or 4 to go before I get to Merrickville. It should be up that way somewhere around that next corner. So there's the first other boat that I've seen this morning, and it's a pretty big one who's potentially working their way down through the canal system. They're following the actual markered route of the canal here, where I'm paddling in this shallower, more marshy water, cut off the corner to save myself a little bit of distance. And as I get closer to that turn, I can see 2 more boats making their way down the canal. I stand corrected, 3 boats. They probably all share the same lock together. Coming around this corner, I can see another boat, and I can also start to see the community of Merrickville coming into view. So the time is now 10:30, and I've just about reached Merrickville. I believe there are 3 locks to go through here, so I think I'll probably start by going through the locks, and then I'll dock the canoe and maybe start off with doing some grocery shopping, and hopefully by then I'll be hungry for my lunch so I can stop somewhere. So the waterway kind of splits here. Over there to the left is the way towards the dam, but there's also a public dock for Merrickville. and over here to the right is the channel into the locks. So since I want to go through the locks before I visit Merrickville, I think I'll just go to the right and then I can dock the canoe at the bottom of the lock station. And I'll probably have this boat up ahead keeping me company when I go through the locks. And it looks like there's a small campground right along the canal here in Merrickville. So here I've arrived in Merrickville, and straight ahead you can see the gates for lock number 23. So here they've opened up the lock gates and these other boats are heading inside and I'll follow behind. And over here on the right you can see another one of the military stone block houses like I saw earlier in the trip, which was erected here to help protect the waterway from attacks from our neighbors to the south. So there they just closed up the lock gates behind me. And as you can see, I actually flipped the canoe around once I got inside here because I only have bumpers on one side of it and the other boats are occupying the whole other side of the lock chamber. So I'll be doing this one backwards. So the village of Merrickville was first founded back in 1794, and it was founded by a man named William Merrick, and originally it was actually known as Merrick's Mill because of the mill that he built here on the river. So they're now opening up the lock gates for us to proceed into the next chamber, and you can see there's a bridge for the County Road 15 that comes through here, and they've got the bridge swinging open now so that these larger boats are able to get underneath of it. So beyond this lock chamber, it looks like there's a little bit of a basin followed by the next one. I can see that lock gate is being held together by ratchet straps currently. And are those the same folks that I saw this morning who are hiking the Rideau Trail? Looks like them. So here we've now reached the next lock chamber and they're letting the boat inside. So here I am now loaded up inside of lock 22. Once again, loaded up backwards. So I'm actually heading that way. So yep, that's definitely them, and they've made pretty good time this morning. So here we've reached the bottom of lock number 22, and they're working on opening up those gates so myself and the other watercraft can proceed to the next chamber. And just like with the last one, there's a small basin here before the final lock in the set of 3. So here they're starting to let us down through lock number 21, which is the last of the 3 set of locks that are here in Merrickville. It's interesting how these locks have a sort of a basin in between each of the locks as opposed to it being a flight of locks where they're just literally back to back. I'm sure it must have something to do with the elevation, because otherwise I think having a flight of locks is preferable because it means that you have fewer lock gates, for instance. And there come the big lock gates for lock 21. Now to proceed my way through and find somewhere to store the canoe so I can walk around Merrickville. You can see that they go to a lot of trouble of putting a lot of rubber on the outsides of these rental boats, knowing that inexperienced captains will be driving them. So the time is now 11:35, and I'm down here at the bottom of lock number 21, and I found a spot where I could take the canoe out of the water, and I decided because I'm probably going to be here for a while walking around and having lunch and grocery shopping, that it made sense to get the canoe out of the water and lock it up, and then I can put all of my stuff that I'm not going to be bringing with me. I've got a backpack, but everything else is stashed underneath of the canoe, and I'm pretty confident that it should be fine here for an hour or so that I'll leave it. So from down here at the bottom of the locks, I'll make my way back up the hill to where downtown Merrickville is. So here's a look at that swing bridge from the bottom, which right now it looks like it's carrying some mobile buildings. And over on this side of it, that's where the Merrickville downtown sort of starts, heading in that direction. And this building right here is the Merrickville United Church. So up here at the top of lock number 23 is a look at the blockhouse that I was showing earlier, and this one to me looks a lot larger than the others that I've seen so far on the trip. So from this plaque here, I've learned that the blockhouse was built back in 1832, and while it's never actually been involved in any military action, it has served as a sleeping quarters for the lockmasters, a church at one time, and also a canal maintenance facility. So here's a look at the main downtown street of Merrickville, and this is actually my second time visiting this beautiful little community. Approximately 2 years ago, during day 1 of my bike tour of Eastern Ontario, I came and had my dinner here in Merrickville. On that same day, I also camped at the Burritts Rapids Lockstation, where I'm heading to later this afternoon. So looking down the main street up ahead, I can see the Merrickville Food Market, where I should be able to stock up on a few grocery items. And of course, I'm excited to see this sign out front. Indeed, that corn looks quite fresh. So I had a successful shopping spree, now on to find somewhere for lunch. I think I'll try Main Street Family Restaurant, which has a nice looking outdoor patio. So I've got a table here at this little patio, and not exactly patio weather, it's not sunny and it's actually kind of cold today. So for the first time on this trip, I'm actually wearing something with long sleeves. Only for lunch though. Once I get back on the water and I'm actually working, I'm sure I won't need it anymore. So I decided to order a Main Street burger, which is basically a bacon cheeseburger, and I got a salad with ranch dressing as my side. So after that delicious meal, I found my way back to the bottom of the locks, where the canoe and all my stuff appear to be just as I left them. Alright, so the time is now 1:30, and here I am back in the canoe, ready to keep on paddling towards the next lock station. And straight ahead, just beyond Merrickville, there's an old train bridge for the CP rail line. It certainly is an old looking bridge. As this segment of the river faces north, I've still got the wind against me. Most of the land along this segment of the river appears to be developed. There's lots of docks and homes or cottages. It looks like I can see the dam for the next log station coming into view up ahead. Up ahead I can see a kayaker coming my way. It's good that I'm not the only person out paddling today. So I'm getting pretty close to the log station over there on the left, and to the right of it there's a bunch of buoys which are protecting against the dam, which presumably is just beyond there. So there's a closer look at where the dam is over there to the right, and here on the left is lock number 20, which is called Clows, spelled C-L-O-W-E-S. They spotted me coming, and here they are opening up the gates for me. So here I'm loaded up inside the lock chamber, and I've got this whole lock to myself, which means I get to dock over on the side that I prefer, the one that has my bumpers. So we made it down to the bottom of lock 20. Now they're opening up the gates for me to proceed. The next lock station is not too far ahead. So there's a small basin here with another dam over there towards the left, and the next lock station is straight ahead. That one's lock number 19, Upper Nicholson. And there's a quick look back at the dam for Clows. You can see it's just a weir type dam. So up ahead down this narrow canal, you can see the next lock station, and the lock staff at the last lock let me know that it might be a while before I can go through because they had to first let another boat up, but I think I can see it in the lock, and it's probably pretty close to being at the top. And I can see this lock station has a swing bridge. It looks like it's of a similar design as the one that I saw yesterday where I was camping at Kilmarnock. And I can see that they have authentics here at this lock too. So here they're opening up the gates, and yes indeed, that bridge looks practically identical to the one that I saw yesterday. Yeah, so as you can see, it works the same way as the last one. They're pushing it closed like that. Alright, so here I am loaded up inside of Upper Nicholson, and just in the distance you can see the next lock station, which is called Lower Nicholson, lock number 18. Alright, I've been lowered down to the bottom, and here comes the gate. Out of the lock chamber, and Lower Nicholson is right there. Lock number 18, Lower Nicholson, and they've already got the gates open in anticipation of my arrival. Releasing the valves to let the water out. Alright, so we're down at the bottom of this not so big lock. They've opened up the gate for me to continue on. So the time is now 2:45, and I paddled almost 17 kilometers so far today, with another 6 or so left to go before I get to Burritts Rapids. So over on the right side of the canal here, I can see that there's a farm. At this point, we're definitely no longer paddling within the Canadian Shield part of this province, and I'm pretty sure most of the time as I'm paddling, there's been farmers' fields on either sides, but often it's blocked by trees like you can see behind me. So straight ahead there I can see a buoy line, which is for a dam which is just not too far beyond there. And straight ahead there is the tip of the island for where the community of Burritts Rapids is located. And I remember on my last visit to this area, I hiked out to the end of that tip and I looked out to these waters where I'm paddling now, and over to the right of it is the path that the canal takes to the lock station. The lock station is pretty much at the far other end of the island. Hello there, Mr. Mink. It's a pretty big one. More views of the farmland along here. I'm sure the scenery would look even better today if the sky wasn't all gray and cloudy. Well, this is the first time that I've seen this member of the animal kingdom on this trip. Here's another one of these whistle points. So things are nice and calm and beautiful inside this canal, and straight ahead you can see a mechanical swing bridge. This one's human powered, but I've never actually seen it operate. The bridge is for Grenville Street, which is the main street for the community of Burritts Rapids, which is over here on this island, just over that way. Straight ahead I can see a boat docked, and I think the log station is just around the corner out of sight from here. So the time is now 4 p.m. and I've reached lock number 17, Burritts Rapids, and it looks just as I remember it from 2 years ago. So here they're opening up the gates for my last lock of the day, and here we start to go down. So now they've lowered me down to the bottom level, and I'll paddle my way out there, park the canoe, unload things, and find a place to set up camp. So I've now purchased my camping permit and got all my stuff moved up to the top of the hill here. And incidentally, the last time that I was in Burritts Rapids, I set up my tent somewhere around here, and this time I think I'm gonna probably put it somewhere around here. Pretty much the same spot. These two women are just setting off now on a sunset paddle. The woman at the back is paddling a solo canoe that's made by Blue Water, which is the same make of canoe that I'm using on this trip. And when I was filming a segment of this video earlier, the woman in the kayak was walking past me, and she told me that she recognized my voice because she had seen my video that I posted earlier in the year of me kayaking down the Humber River in Toronto. What a small world it is sometimes. So the time is now 5:30, and I've got my tent all set up, and I'm starting to feel really hungry for dinner, so I'll show you what I'm going to be eating for dinner tonight. So I'm going to be first starting with the cob of corn that I got from Merrickville. I'm also going to have this chicken Thai wrap. I have a tradition of always getting Thai food at least once on my trips, and I'm not certain that I'll see a Thai restaurant on this trip, so this will probably have to suffice. I've got some raw bananas to eat. I'm not sure if I can eat all of them, depending on how hungry I am, but I am pretty hungry. And for dessert, I've got some Nanaimo bars, which also came from, well, I guess all this stuff came from Merrickville. So just across the street from the lock station, there's a building which used to be the Lock 17 Bistro and Store. And I remember the last time that I was here in Burritts Rapids, I ate my lunch in that building there. And they also used to offer coin showers. So after my long day of cycling, I came across the street here and had a shower before going to bed. As you can see, this building is now closed, or the business is now closed. And I actually noticed a zoning application on that tree over there, and it looks like they're planning on rezoning this property here for residential uses. Speaking of my last visit to Burritts Rapids, the last time that I was camping here, there was another group of people who were also camping here. I arrived here by bicycle, and they arrived here by paddling down the Rideau Canal. They were actually the very first people that I'd ever heard of who were doing this relatively popular activity, and they were probably part of what started to inspire me to do the trip that I'm currently doing now. Incidentally, on the day that I met them, they started from Kilmarnock and paddled all the way to here to Burritts Rapids, which is exactly the same journey that I did myself today. So anyway, that will pretty well wrap things up in terms of day 6 of this trip. As you can see from my jacket and long pants, things have really cooled down this evening, or in fact they've really stayed pretty cool all day long. In the morning I found it, kind of chilly, but I was moving around, getting everything ready. And then once I was in the canoe, I was moving and, I was paddling, and, that, builds up some heat. So I felt like I didn't need a jacket then. But I was still wearing my t-shirt, this t-shirt down here. I was wearing that underneath of my life jacket, which up to this point in the trip, I never really needed to do that. I was always just wearing, my life jacket against my skin. I didn't need an extra layer underneath there. But yeah, things have definitely cooled off. It's hard to believe this is the same trip as when I started, and it was just really hot all the time and quite humid. And near the beginning of the trip, it actually, in the evenings, it didn't really cool off very much. In fact, the tent never got dew on it in the evenings like you would, often get in the evenings. So it stayed dry and everything. That was really convenient. But now we're back to, more what you'd expect for this time of year for camping. So yeah, it was a pretty good day today. It stayed pretty gray and cloudy for most of the day, which this kind of means that even though I'm really enjoying the scenery around me and everything about this trip, when you're making videos, when there's a gray sky, it really does impact what the viewers see at home. So from that perspective, not the best day, but again, for me, as the person who's actually experiencing the trip, it was still really good. Wind kind of surprised me a little bit. I kind of expected once I got to this point in the trip when I'd be just in the river, I wasn't going to be going through any lakes, that the wind really wouldn't matter what it was doing. But there are certainly parts of the river where it's relatively wide, and if the direction of the wind happens to sort of be close enough aligned with the direction of the river that it can definitely make you know, some wind for you to go through, but definitely not the kind of winds that I was experiencing earlier in the trip, like when I was on Upper Rideau Lake or Big Rideau Lake. Those were some pretty windy days. So yeah, it's definitely more relaxing from that perspective, and I enjoyed my visit to Merrickville. Nice to have some time to just sort of walk around and explore and get to, you know, actually experience the town a little bit. I had been there before, like I mentioned, but the last time I was just there for dinner after a long day of bike riding, and I think I got there kind of around dusk, and I was just sort of rushed to find a restaurant and sort of get back, and you know, so this time I got a little, you know, a little bit better taste of Merrickville. But anyways, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, day number 7. From here, from Burritts Rapids, the next lock station isn't for another 40 kilometers. It's called Long Island. And in my initial planning of the trip, I thought, okay, well, I'll just have one day where I paddle, you know, really far. Actually, I did already do 40 kilometers in a day earlier in this trip. But I've decided against doing that for tomorrow for kind of 2 reasons. What I've decided to do instead is to stay at a provincial park, which is only 13 kilometers downriver from here, which is called Rideau River Provincial Park. So the 2 reasons why I decided not to. The first one is because across the river from Rideau River's Provincial Park is the community of Kempville. And it's a community that I've ridden my bike through, but I've never spent any time sort of walking around or seeing. And the thing is, it's not actually right on the river. So if I was going to Long Island, there wouldn't really be any way for me to see it. It's kind of like 5 kilometers, you know, inland from it. But there's a creek which goes up, it's called the Kempville Creek, which actually goes into Kempville. So my idea for tomorrow is that I'm going to paddle to the provincial park, drop off my stuff, maybe set up my tent, maybe do a couple of things there. Then I'm going to head across the river and up the creek into Kempville, spend some time there, and then of course I'll come back and I'll spend the night in the provincial park. I mentioned 2 reasons. The other reason why, so yeah, reason number 1 is so I can get to see Kempville, because I otherwise would miss it. The second reason is because I have 10 days to do this trip, and if I were to just keep going to Long Island, then I would get to Ottawa kind of a day early. And I, you know, kind of wanted to spend more time around here, enjoying it, and I want my vacation to be 10 days. I don't want to finish early. So that's pretty much what's planned for tomorrow and what's to come. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed joining me for day number 6. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.